It's another
So,
edition of Pens Down. On this show we connect with journalists across the world and get to understand what they go through as far as their journalism journey is concerned. Today we are traveling to Nigeria. I have a colleague that has joined me all the way from Nigeria. Charity Ugwuanyi is my guest on Pens Down today. Her full profile will be displayed to you on the screen while we go on with this conversation. Thanks for joining me on Pens Down and welcome. Can you hear me?
hello,
Can you hear me?
Stephen. And hello, Africans. Hello, the world. Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Thanks for joining me.
You're welcome, Stephen. I'm happy to be on Pens Down today. Thank you very much for having me.
The pleasure is all mine. There are a lot of professions. What landed you here in journalism?
Okay, I'll say I am not among those people who say they become journalists by chance. I did not become a journalist by chance. Right from childhood, I would say. I know I had this thing about talking to people, writing, and all of that, but I didn't know where to place myself then as a child. Until one of my aunties said, Charity could make a good journalist. She could make a good mass communicator. And I'm like, what is mass communicator? Who are they? And that was when I began to research about, mass communication. I began to ask questions to people, what is mass communication? And they said they are those people that, read news on television.
Okay.
And I like to watch television back then. So, and then there's this man on Channels Television, Ladi Akeredoluwale. I like watching him. So one day I told myself, wow, I like to do this thing that this man does. I like to do it. I think when I grow up, I'd like to be like this man.
Mm.
And so I began to research more about, mass communication. I came across one career book that talks about, what people can be, the courses to study in university and all of that. So when I got into secondary school, I just found myself in fact, I searched for press club. That was where I started. So I became a member of press club. At one time, I became their vice president. I began to, read news on the assembly ground. I'd listen to the network news. I'll dub them, write them out, and then at the assembly ground, I'll come read them out there. Okay, so that was how I began. And then when it was time for me to write my post UTME, I did, and I was, Grace found me. I won't say I was lucky.
Mm.
Grace found me,
Okay.
and then that's writing it at one sitting. I got admission to study mass communication, at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. So right in school, we were going for internships. We were going to different, media organizations. I went to Vanguard newspaper. I went to Radio Nigeria. That was when I began to have hands-on knowledge about it. So
Let's
I
look
love
at
what I do.
let's look at the almost 6 years you've been around in journalism, or the little over
Mm.
5 years you've been around. What stands out as the most challenging assignment for you?
Wow. I'd actually say it was at my initial time.
Mm.
Okay, during my national youth service
Mm.
year, I was serving in a television station and I was posted to cover one event in another state as a core member. It wasn't easy for me because I was new to that particular side of Nigeria. And then for me to be sent outside the state, I was 7, it was difficult for me, the language barrier. And then the fact that when I got there, people were looking at me like an alien. But to even get them to interview, they didn't listen to me. And I could not speak their language. So I had to look for people to help me interpret what I was saying to them. So I could get them speak to me. And they were speaking in Yoruba language.
Wow.
So
So that means the one you did your interview through interpreters.
Yes.
Wow.
And it was really challenging. It was really challenging. But all the same, here I am.
Will you say journalism pays? Does it pay?
Wow. Journalism paying. What word do I use to describe this now? Journalism does not pay. Let me just come this way. It does not pay. It does not pay as much as we work. We put in so much work. Like sometimes you have an assignment that will keep you up at night, no sleep. You won't even remember to eat. Sometimes you stay hungry for even days just to make sure that you achieve that particular or you finish that particular task, you know. And at the end of the day, I don't want to talk about the Nigerian aspect because so many people get discouraged. Apart from the joy, the enthusiasm in being a journalist, talking on radio, talking on television, apart from the joy, sometimes people get discouraged, from coming to this profession because it does not actually pay. It only pays when you must have, stayed long in the profession. If, for instance, you work in a radio station or a television station, you've made your name. You've made your name, and then your name begins to make the money for you. Apart from that, journalism does not pay. Money, when it comes to money, financially, it does not pay. But then sometimes it pays because you have a name that when you go out there, people see you and then welcome you, right? They want to be with you. They want to do things for you. But when it comes to, getting paid where you work, not so much.
These years you've been in journalism, I am sure you've watched a number of your colleagues and even seniors abandon the profession. There is attrition, high rate of attrition in the profession. So many of our highly skilled, highly trained professionals are leaving. Corporate communications is swallowing some of them, or public relations. And for others, anything that they find themselves to do, they get on board. What do you think is accounting for this high level of attrition in journalism?
Sorry, I didn't get that, the last thing you said.
I was asking, what do you think accounts for this high level of attrition in journalism? Why are people leaving?
Well, many people leave for different reasons. Some people leave because they found something better. And some other people leave because of the risks in journalism. If you are an investigative journalist, for instance, there are some places you will go to, there are some reports that you will make or you carry out that they will almost come for your head. Sometimes they come for your head. And so because of the fact that a lot of people are, restricted from reporting things the way they should be reported, the way they are, because of that, so many people feel like, I am restricted. I am not allowed to do what I want to do. I want to tell people what is happening, but when I do it, my mouth is shut, So because of that, many people do not find their fulfillment in the profession, and then they go. And then apart from that, the financial aspect of it, sometimes there are some places you go to, and then they tell you that journalists are beggars, that pressmen are beggars, because most times they depend on I call it green envelope. Many people say brown envelope, but I call it green envelope.
That's right.
Or white envelope. So many people depend on that, right? And then sometimes they give you that envelope and then expect you to report things in their favor. And because you may not really be that kind of person that will, go that way, just leave. Sometimes it could just be that they found something better. They go.
I hosted one of the respected media professionals in Africa, Mr. Lekon Tufoduri, on this platform.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things he shared with me when we were talking about social media was that he said that journalists live in a state of denial when social media, we have had things like High Five, BlackBerry, and the rest. They've all come and gone. So for the typical journalist, we felt that, okay, social media was also another storm in a teacup that will just come and go. So a lot of us really couldn't exact the full financial benefit of social media to our advantage. There are richer bloggers in Africa than richer journalists. Where did we miss it?
Wow. Oh, sorry. Can you come again? I couldn't hear you.
My question is, there are richer bloggers in Africa than richer journalists. Where did we as journalists miss it from taking advantage of social media to better our lot?
When we were in school, the new media, we call it the new media.
That's right.
It was disrupting the traditional media. It was actually affecting it in a very big way. That was, back then, I was still in school. And then they were teaching us how to be still proactive, despite the fact that they are teaching us how to draw dummy, planning the page of a newspaper, draw dummy and all of that. Meanwhile, there are some technologies that could do that even faster.
Yeah.
So that was when I began to have the idea of the new media clashing with the traditional media, that is the newspaper, print, and all of that. So many journalists were trained in the traditional media. Not many of them are, let me say, modern in their practice. So many of them are, they were even trained with typing their newspapers with typewriter. Yes, and some of them did not, they are not open. I would say some of them, some of us are not so open to learn new ideas, to adapt to the modern world, right? So we just restrict ourselves to the particular ones that we have been taught, we have been trained in, that we are used to, right? And then now we have these citizen journalists who penetrated into the media and they are taking the lead. You see somebody, on social media, making waves, having a lot of followers, and then you see a journalist, a professional journalist that should have the world, in the media, lagging behind. I believe it's because we are not open to new knowledge, to the new media, learning how to take advantage of the new media, right? And then again, there are some media organizations that have not provided, those platforms for their workers to get, adapted, to get used to it. They still operate in that, that manual, that traditional way of, sending information to the people. Although these days we have journalists, we have some media houses having pages on social media, right? You go to Facebook, you see them. You go to Twitter, you see them. And then they also, some of them train their workers in that line. But I believe we have a lot to do as journalists. We need to get ourselves open. We need to adapt. We need to go into it. We need to teach them. Because these people who are just, novice. They are novice. They are not. They report things the way they should not be reported. Fake news everywhere, right? You see some images that should not be displayed that way, as raw as they are, and then you see people who do not have the training going displaying them, even though they are not, so good for people to view. They do not mind because they are not trained in the best way to send information, to send out the images to people, right? But sometimes people prefer them because we restrict ourselves so much to that old way of practicing journalism.
Let's look at the brown envelope, which you call the green envelope. In Ghana, it is called Sole, which is the shortened form of solidarity.
Wow, sorry.
In Cameroon, it is called Gombo or brown envelope. In Malawi, it is called logistics. In Nigeria, it is brown envelope. Now you have given it a new name, green envelope. I am told it is called kwa in certain areas in Nigeria. And then I'm told in Nigeria, when that brown envelope is very big, we call it loot. One senior colleague also told me. What is your take on it? Share your thoughts on it with me.
Okay, I will not mention name. I was once in a media house that I returned from a report. There I was among the senior reporters.
Okay.
So I was sent out to report an event. Yes, an event. I returned to the office and my editor told me, "Where is the last paragraph?" I said, "Sir?" He said, "The last paragraph. What is the last paragraph?" I said, "Sir, I do not understand." He said, "Charity, you are a novice." I said, "Sir, please make me understand." He said, "The last paragraph is the brown envelope. Where is it?"
Oh.
I said, "Sir." Okay.
Now that's a new dimension to it. In the line of duty, has your life ever been threatened?
Yes, it has.
Okay, tell us about it.
I was once sent to cover an event. It was a very sensitive event. It involved the death of 2 police officers. In fact, I would say that all through my life as a journalist, I had not in fact, that has been the worst day of my life. I was at the office after reading the news. We got information that something was happening around our office. So as the most senior reporter at that point, I was sent out to cover it. I had my driver and then one other, assistant. We zoomed off, got to the venue, and then we saw people running. People were running to, scampering for safety. We stopped by the way and asked people what was happening. They said they just burned 2 police officers inside their car at the front. Then I told my driver to just drive, closer to the place a bit so we could see what was happening. My driver drove close and then we got there, saw the police, the body burning and their car, and took some photographs, asked questions, and eyewitnesses told us what happened. We got closer to where that thing happened. They told us who were involved, the suspects. We reported, I took notes, did some interviews, those that were there, when it happened, they told me. Then I went back to the office, and it was a radio station. So I wrote the story, it went on air, and then following story, I updated, it also went on air. Then one night, I got a call that I will not see tomorrow, that they were coming for me, that there's nowhere I'll run to, that in fact that I cannot hide from them. I said, who are you? He said, you think you are okay, you think you can just, who gave you the courage? Who gave you the courage to mention our names? Who gave you the courage to tell people what happened? Okay, so they stopped in front of me on a motorcycle and told me that if I do not want to die, if I do not want to lose myself, my life, that I had better gone on air to refute the claims I made. I said, what claims did I make? They said I said that a certain person or a certain group killed police officers, which never happened. That they're going to send me what to report. So the following day, I got a mail. There's a program there was a program I was doing then that, I call my, that would need us to attend to, to them, that I should tell the world that it was the diesel, the fuel that those police officers had in their car that spilled and killed them and caused the fire that killed them, and not anybody killing them or setting fire on them.
Wow.
So I was still young in the profession then, so I had to meet my editor, explained to him, and then he said, don't worry, from now onwards I'll take this up. I'll take this, don't worry, just single yourself out of it. I'll do the job from now onwards. So from then I began to sleep inside the office because of fear of going home and being killed on the way. Wow. I didn't see them anymore anyways. But then after some times I left that organization. I left the media house, I resigned, went to another place, to another state.
How long do you intend to do journalism before you walk away from the microphone or drop your pen?
Okay, it should be, how long do I want to remain active? Like very active. I do not see myself leaving the microphone now, and I do not see myself leaving the microphone soon. I believe I have not achieved my aim of, going to the microphone. I was once in newspaper, but then I discovered that I have a mission with a microphone, and until I achieve that mission, I am not going to let the microphone go. I'll be with it. Even if I have something else doing, I'll still be with the microphone. But by then, I would say I will no longer be so active, like every day working. But I may be doing something else, but I'll still have the microphone close, until I see myself achieving that particular aim that took me to the microphone.
If we are to go back into time, 7 years, will you still choose journalism?
Yes, I will. I will choose journalism. I will choose journalism. Even though sometimes I tell myself, I wish I can find myself in another world where I am freer to practice journalism, where I am not restricted by he who pays the piper dictates the tune.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what I tell myself sometimes. If I can get myself in a place, I'll be free to do this. I love journalism.
Have you at any point in the line of duty been approached with anything monetary or material to compromise the details of any story you were doing and then take it? I'm talking about bribe.
No, I have not. I have not actually, when it comes to money, I have not faced that, but I have faced, circumstances where I'll write something and then I'll be told that I have to pull this down because it has a clash of interests. Not money now, but ownership.
So that instruction, what did it come from within or from outside?
Yes, from within. From within. They tell me this does not represent the interests of where I work. So I have to pull it down. Even when I am on radio trying to, maybe on a program, I am told to watch the words I say, not to be so generous with words, so as not to step on toes.
On the back of that, will you say freedom of the media is reality or is just some textbook phrase?
Reality. Yes, theoretically, we would say, yes, it is a reality, but practically, Stephen, it is not.
Let me pick your thoughts on this.
It is not.
There are a lot of politicians and politically connected individuals that are setting up and owning media houses, political ownership of the media. Are we in trouble? Is there a reason to be worried, or all is well?
Well, we know that ownership sometimes influence the contents that we dish out to people. But for now, from what I see, I do not know about other places, but from what I see, we have politicians here in Nigeria owning media houses, owning radio stations, owning or newspaper, firms. But most times the reporters there are careful with the words, the reports they make, right? Yes, we know that a certain politician owns a certain media house, but sometimes they are fair. They apply objectivity in their reportage. Yes. For now, it is not a trouble. There's no cause for alarm at this point. If it continues at this stage in Nigeria, there is no cause for alarm.
I'll give an example. On the back of you saying there's no cause for alarm. The president of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, owns TVC television. He also owns the Nation newspapers.
Yes.
In the heat of the campaign, these platforms were more charitable towards him in the way they projected him. Even when he needed to be criticized, they took a much softer stance to ensure that he had a much fairer representation in their books or on their screens. Now, this is what we are talking about. Journalism. Journalists are trained to doubt, and in journalism, you project the reality minus emotions, interest, or whatever. Is there no downside to this?
Yes.
Political ownership of the media.
Well, during the campaign period, we have other media houses that were generous with their reportage, right? Yeah. It was not just about those owned by those, people. We still had radio stations, television stations that were generous as well. But then we also learned, because it came out to criticize. It had a program where opposition politicians spoke against those in power, and they were sanctioned, right? It is not fair. It is not fair to sanction a radio station or a television station because they are saying something that is factual about you. And then for a television station about you Well, I know they were generous. They were
Mm,
generous. Not they were generous actually towards him
mm,
and towards other politicians as well, right?
yeah.
But I saw caution. They were still applying caution.
Mm,
From my own judgment, they were still applying caution, you know,
mm,
when reporting him and other politicians as well. Although
mm,
sometimes these politicians try to take advantage of the fact that they own this media. And so
mm,
anything they do wrong must not be said, right? But I think it is not just about it is not just them. We still
mm,
have other politicians taking advantage of that because of their prominence, because of who they are. So they
mm,
want to to be reported in good lights, even
mm.
though it is the opposite.
In the next 10 years, if you are in active journalism, where would you want to be as your ideal working environment?
You know, back then, as children would tell us, I'd like to be in BBC, I'd like to be in CNN, but Charity here would only want to be practice journalism, happily. Journalism is where
Mm.
I want to be, right? Or even owning my own firm, because there's nothing, wrong in that.
Yes, it's not extraordinary. You can always, once you have the expertise, you can always set up on your own.
Mm, yes. Because sometimes I also look forward to having my own media firm someday.
Okay, great.
It could happen before 10 years or after 10 years.
It's possible. Maybe even next year. Who knows? But you started
Yes,
as a
anything is
newspaper.
possible.
You started in print journalism. Now you are in the electronic media, precisely radio.
Mm.
Um, was your switch to radio by accident or by design?
Well, it was not by accident. It was not by accident. Now, I like to write,
Mm,
right? I write. I still write. Yes, I still write. Officially, I do. But I discovered that my voice is needed more
mm,
in the society than my writing.
okay.
Yes, I know I write, I send out to people to read, but then I discovered that I achieve my aim more when I talk to people. People
Mm,
listen to me more when they hear me talk to them,
mm,
right? And sometimes, apart from the media, there's something I do. It is an initiative. So I go to schools,
mm,
I go to school seminars, conferences to talk to people. And I discovered that when I begin to talk to people, they tend to listen to me more and they tend to, take what I tell them, right?
mm.
So I discovered that these days, not everybody reads, Many
Yeah.
people prefer to listen to their radio where they can be doing
Mm,
other things and still be listening and having the fun and all that, the flexibility and all that. So many people prefer radio to newspaper. Only
mm,
very few people, pick the papers to read,
mm.
except, the electronic ones now, the internet and all of that. So I discovered that I thrive more when I talk to people.
Mm,
I speak more to souls when
mm,
I talk to people. And that is actually why I am still in the broadcast industry, why I still want to be here.
mm. My wrap-up question: how has social media helped your career as a journalist?
I did not know how to take advantage of the social media
Mm,
before, but right now I am waking up to
mm,
it because I see that the social media has helped a lot of people, even non-journalists.
mm,
So if the social media could help non-journalists, get out there, then how about me? how about us who are the main media people?
Yes.
So because of that, lately I delved into the social media. I began to video myself when I am live on radio. I go live on Facebook, right? I go live on social media so that people can participate in what I do right there. But if I am shut off from the media, social media, just there in the radio doing my thing, we have limitations.
Yes.
Locations. Sometimes you'll be here broadcasting, your transmission may not get to other places, far places.
That's right.
But then coming to the social media now has become inclusive. I'm there in the studio. Somebody in the UK is watching me and contributing to what I am doing in the studio in Nigeria here. People in the United States call me while I am in the studio presenting my program. Right. So these are the things that the social media have been doing for me. More visibility. Right. Some people who do not know who I am or that I am into this now know that I am a journalist, that I'm a radio presenter, because they are there watching me from the social media, doing my thing in the studio. So the social media has really helped me.
Let me thank you for this conversation. I'm truly grateful for your company today on PENSDOWN. This has been PENSDOWN. Today we travel to Nigeria, one of the countries that will fight Ghana on everything, including jollof. I don't know what their problem is.
We've always had that competition, which is more delicious, the Ghana jollof rice or the Niger jollof rice.
That's right.
Niger jollof rice.
Your position is obvious. I mean, so today I was joined by a colleague from Nigeria, Charity Ugwuanyi. I hope I got it right.
Yes, Ugwuanyi, Charity Ugwuanyi.
Charity Ugwuanyi. She joined me today. We've spoken about her journalism journey, the ups and downs, the challenging moments. Maybe let me bring this to you finally. What would you say represents a golden moment in your professional life? Golden moment. If not one, how many of them?
There are many of them. But then what represents, first of all, I like to interview people, personalities. I like to go there, get to those people that people are scared of. I don't know how, I just, have my way to get into them. Yes, and then interview them. So whenever I am, in that situation, I am happy. I target one of my golden moments. And then apart from, that, when I go out as a media personality to inspire young people, to tell them that, yes, see, you may see, all impossibilities now, but you can still get out there. You can still do it. You can still achieve your dreams, encouraging them. Whenever I go out to speak to young ones and then see them responding, and then happy that I am talking to them and they are also, taking what I have told them, I also see that as my golden moment.
This has been PENSDOWN. Here we talk journalism journeys. We connect with journalists from any part of the world and get to understand. This is the only platform that puts the CCTV cameras behind the scenes. The people who bring you the news, they become the news themselves on this platform. And we get them to tell us all that they go through, including why they chose journalism, among several other professions. Thanks for your time. Charity, we are grateful for your time.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. We'll be back next time with another edition. I'll have another colleague join us and we'll still be talking about their journalism journeys. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.